Hey there guys, today what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to read a tape measure. Now I went online and there was a bunch of different ways that people were teaching how to read a tape measure that were kind of complicated, with fractions and decimals and stuff like that. I learned a really simple way when I was younger, and as long as you can count by threes, you can learn how to read a tape measure. Today what I'm going to do is I got an inch that's blown up, and so you can really see it in detail, and I'm going to show you exactly how I learned how to read a tape measure. Again, it might not be the right way to learn how to read a tape measure, but it's the way that I learned, so that's how I'm going to show you guys. This here represents an inch, and now an inch is divided up into sixteenths. Let me first start off by saying that when I did my introduction, I said if you can count by threes, you can learn how to read a tape measure. My son pointed out that I wasn't necessarily counting by threes, that I was counting odd numbers as opposed to the even numbers. Let's see if you can see this here. The smaller little marks here represent the sixteenths. The next size up right here represent the eighths. The next size up represents the quarters. And then the big one right down the middle obviously represents the half. So the way that I learned how to read a tape measure is, as long as you can count the odd numbers, not by threes, you just count 1/16, 3/16, 5/16, 7/16, 9/16, 11/16, 13/16, and 15/16. And then if you go to the eighths, 1/8, 3/8, 5/8, 7/8. Same with the quarters, 1/4, 3/4, and then you got the half right down the middle. That's basically about as simple as it is. The other thing that I've always remembered is that 9/16 and 5/8 were the first one after the half. So if you're measuring here, then you can just go 9/16, 11/16, 13/16, as opposed to having them, as opposed to having to count sixteenths, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. If you just remember that 9/16 is the first one after the half inch, and you just go 9, 11, 13/16. Okay, some of the other things that you can learn on a tape measure is, if you're just counting by feet and inches as opposed to down to sixteenths, here you got 1 foot, and then you got 13 inches, but you also have 1 foot. You see the red number there, 1 inch. So you got 1 foot 1 inch, 1 foot 2 inches, 1 foot 3 inches, and so on and so forth. If you get to the 2 feet, you have 2 feet 1 inches, 2 feet 2 inches, 2 feet 3 inches, and so on and so forth. The other thing you have on a tape measure are every 16 inches is marked, because that's where your standard stud is going to be. So you have 16 here at 16 inches, and then if you go to 32 inches, it's marked in red, so that's another 16. And then you have 48 inches, which is marked in red, and that's another 16. So if you're marking out to lay out studs, or if you're marking on the wall so you can hit studs, the studs are marked in the red here. So if you guys are just getting into woodworking or just learning how to read a tape measure, I hope it was a little bit helpful to you guys, and I hope that I can keep making videos that are helpful to people that are just learning. One of the things that I liked about YouTube, I've been doing woodworking for a long time, but I just got into welding about 3 or 4 months ago, and I knew absolutely nothing about welding. People that that have welded or worked with metal before in their life probably knew some of the basics, but I knew none of the basics. So I thought, for people that are getting into woodworking, I'd like to make some real basic stuff that a lot of other people probably assume that everybody that does any sort of woodworking would know how to do already. And if you're interested in seeing some of our custom wood signs or other unique one-of-a-kind pieces, check us out on Facebook at Helen Drunk's Custom Wood Designs.